Welcome back to Open School. You've probably heard someone say, an apple, but what about a apple? Sounds a bit off, doesn't it? Well, that's because it is. Today we're diving into the rules of when to use a and an. It's a common error to use a instead of an before a vowel sound, and vice versa. This might seem trivial, but remember, correct usage is crucial in both spoken and written English. So, why does a apple sound so strange? Let's find out. The first rule we'll cover is when to use a. Suppose you're painting a picture with words. You reach into your linguistic palette and find that A is one of your primary colors. So, how do you know when to use this particular hue? The answer is simpler than you might think. Picture this. You're about to introduce a common singular noun into your sentence. This noun needs an article, a little linguistic helper to make its debut smoother. If this noun starts with a consonant sound, A steps up to the plate. It's like the opening act before the main performance. For instance, consider the words cat, dog, tree. Each of these words begins with a consonant sound, so A is our go-to article. We'd say a cat, a dog, a tree. But here's where it gets interesting. The rule of A isn't about the letter that a word begins with, but the sound that starts the word. This might seem like a subtle distinction, but it's crucial in mastering the use of A. For example, let's take the word university. Even though university begins with a vowel, it sounds like it starts with a Y, a consonant sound. So we say a university, not an university. Another example is one-eyed pirate. One begins with a W sound, which is a consonant sound, so we say a one-eyed pirate, rather than an one-eyed pirate. Just like the first brushstroke on a canvas, A sets the stage for the words that follow. It's a small but mighty part of our language, helping us to communicate clearly and effectively. So the next time you're crafting a sentence, remember this rule of thumb. If a word starts with a consonant sound, A is your linguistic ally. Remember, it's all about the sound that follows A, not the actual letter. Let this be your guiding principle as you navigate the art of English grammar. Now let's move on to when we use an. You see, the rule for using an is fairly similar to the rule for using a, but instead of concerning words that start with a consonant sound, an is used before words that begin with a vowel sound. That's right, we're talking about the sounds that the letters A, E, I, O, and U typically make. So, let's dive into some examples to help this rule truly sink in. If you wanted to talk about a singular apple, you wouldn't say a apple. That just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Instead, you would say an apple. The same goes for an orange, an igloo, an umbrella, and an elephant. Are you seeing the pattern here? But hold on a minute. Remember what we said earlier? It's not about the letter that the word starts with, but rather the sound that the letter makes. This is a crucial point and can sometimes trip people up. Let's consider the word hour. Even though H is a consonant, when we pronounce hour, it begins with a vowel sound like hour. So we say an hour, not a hour. Another example is honest. Despite starting with H, it sounds like it begins with O, so we say an honest mistake, not an honest mistake. The same rule applies to the word honor. We say an honor, not a honor. So there you have it. The use of an is determined by the sound that follows it, not the actual letter that starts the word. This might seem a bit tricky at first, especially when you come across words that start with consonants but sound like they start with vowels. But don't worry, the more you practice, the more natural it will become. Just like with A, it's all about the sound that follows and not the actual letter. Let's recap what we've learned so far and talk about some common pitfalls. In this journey of A and an, we've discovered that the choice between these two articles isn't about the first letter of the following word, but rather the first sound. Remember, A is used before words that begin with a consonant sound, while an is used before words that start with a vowel sound. Now let's dive into some common pitfalls that can trip you up. One such is when you encounter words that start with a silent H. For example, the word hour. Even though H is a consonant in hour, it's silent and the word actually starts with a vowel sound, so we say an hour, not a hour. Another tricky area is with words like one. Although one begins with O, which is a vowel, it doesn't start with a vowel sound. The pronunciation of one starts with a W sound, which is a consonant sound. So we say a one, not an one. These are just a few examples of the nuances that can make English a bit challenging, but also incredibly fascinating. Remember, it's all about the sound, not the letter. Keep practicing and soon enough it'll become second nature. So next time you're about to say a apple, remember, it's an apple. And that wraps up our lesson on a and an. Remember, these are not just small, inconsequential words. They are vital building blocks of the English language. Using a and an correctly can elevate your English, both in writing and conversation. It enhances clarity and prevents misunderstandings. So, whether you're penning your next great novel or simply chatting with friends, keep these rules in mind. The right use of a and an can make a world of difference in how your message is perceived. In the grand scheme of things, it's the small details that often make the biggest impact. In the case of a and an, this couldn't be more true. So, don't overlook them. Embrace these small but mighty words and watch your English flourish. Thanks for joining us at Open School today. If you found this lesson helpful, please give us a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to share and subscribe for more lessons like this one. Until next time, keep making grammar a priority.